to the state and local government told them they couldn't even go to the park. And to make their point, they filled a skate park with 37 tons of sand. Just so you know, that's not a city or a state park. That is a private park. They didn't even let the owner of that park know the city was going to do that. Comply, or you'll be made to comply. Now, if you want to see a hornet's nest, just keep kicking it. Keep doing things like this. And it will redefine the term civil unrest. And this is before everything that we will see when Antifa and the Bernie bros join the fray this summer. This is before we hit 20% unemployment. And you can take it to the bank that much of it will absolutely be orchestrated. And anything on the left will be excused and embraced by politicians and by the media. The next thing I wrote down was economic destabilization. The economy, I said, will hit a critical stage. With bank and central bank failures, stock market will plunge and prices will collapse. Well, we're well on our way with that. And the Fed is predicting an unemployment rate that would hit 32%. We're currently in a forced economic recession. And I remind you, they did this deliberately, as we have told you on earlier shows, that this is from the Fed itself. It's not a question of how did it happen. The only question remains is they put us into this recession intentionally. Now, will it become the second Great Depression? Then I said, watch out for tech disruption. Another critical stage is achieved with jobs, finance, communication, and privacy now all disrupted, which would lead to number 4, an implosion of trust. Trust in the government, the media, tech, finance, and corporations had eroded so much that they all decided they needed each other and they began to merge together. All of this culminates with a cry just to, for the love of God, please just make it stop. How many of us would have not put up with any of this stuff just 3 weeks ago? But look at what we're putting up with now. And when they say we're just going to open up the economy just a little bit here, how many of us are fine, okay. We're not going back to normal, but many of us will just be fine with getting some of it back. This is a real problem. General consensus will be possible and clear. A new world order, just make it stop. Now, let me tell you the good news. The entire plan is inherently flawed, and it's spoiled by one key variable that they always underestimate and leave out. Your ability to do your own homework and stay informed. Your ability to think on your own. Do not take a single word I say tonight as gospel. They think you're stupid. I do not. Maybe I missed something. Maybe I have it wrong. Do your own research. But it is only an informed republic that is going to be able to put a stop to it. The whole aim of practical politics, said H.L. Mencken, is to keep the populace alarmed and hence clamorous to be led to safety by an endless series of hobgoblins, most of them imaginary, end quote. The hobgoblin and the path for takeover has been climate change. They had to have us fear climate change, a great disaster. And the new Green Deal was nothing more than a giant socialist jobs program to completely redefine our economies globally. And they don't even try to deny it. I want to show you something. This is from the People's World, one of the leading Marxist publications in the United States. And let me just quote from it here. Winning the Green New Deal on the road to socialism. Wow, sounds great so far. The whole aim, let's see here. This is a plan that kicked into gear in June 1992. And 178 countries met in Brazil, and they adopted something that we've talked about in the past called Agenda 21. Their stated goal at the time was to, quote, build a global partnership for sustainable development to improve human lives and protect the environment. Well, that sounds good, right? But like the Green New Deal, a lot of their proposals seemed more interested in policies that didn't have anything to do with protecting the environment. In September 2000, Agenda 21 member states began to publicize some of these goals. They included universal single-payer health care. What? Universal education and wealth redistribution. It's basically exactly what the Green New Deal is about today. But it was written 20 years ago, and it's not new. It's not anything about being green either. It's all about being red, socialist red. Okay, so why am I talking to you about climate change and things that happened years ago? It's the pandemic that we're dealing with. Well, stick with me for a couple of minutes more. You will understand. In 2013, the UN General Assembly set up a 30-member working group to identify their goals. And in January 2015, Agenda 21 went away and was rebranded Agenda 2030. They established in there 17 sustainable development goals to, quote, a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people and the planet now and into the future. Oh, they go on. They want to end poverty and other deprivations that must go hand in hand with strategies that improve health and education, reduce inequality, and spur economic growth, all while tackling climate change and working to preserve our oceans and forests. Wow, what a communist utopia. We're going to do all of those things and protect the environment and stuff. Uh-huh. All right, so Agenda 2030 now has penetrated all the way down to your local government. You probably don't know this, but I'm going to send you on a Google search here in a minute. Have you ever seen the term local sustainability strategy pop up in your state or city government? I want you to Google those words, but add your state and your city. You're going to find official websites with a .gov at the end all over the country. From California, of course, Oregon, to even El Paso, Texas. In reality, Agenda 2030 is all about inventory and control. How many people are there? Where do they live? Can we move those people into cities that they control? Sustainable Development Goal 11. It talks about, and if I may quote, integrated and sustainable human settlement planning and management, with a quote, ratio of land consumption rate to population growth rate. Oh my gosh, this sounds like we're so free in America, doesn't it? To Agenda 2030, people are the disease, and they need to be taken out of the rural areas and herded into cities. I wish I had time tonight to go through all of this, but there is a reason that you might have noticed that farmland is being claimed by eminent domain in states all over the country. It's this. They are targeting our kids now and indoctrinating them in public school systems. They are moving forward, and they don't hide it. You can see it in their charter called Transforming Our World. This, I think, is going to infuriate you. Let me give you the quote. What we're announcing today, an agenda for global action for the next 15 years, is a charter for people and planet in the 21st century. Children and young women and men are critical agents of change and will find in the new goals a platform to channel their infinite capabilities for activism into the creation of a better world. Wow. You know what makes sense a little bit more? Is this.
This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you?
Yeah, did you know that because of a Facebook glitch, we know that she didn't write any of her posts? They're written by her father and this guy, a climate change delegate from the United Nations. These people will do anything. The climate change agenda is being used by advocates of Agenda 21, then later Agenda 2030, for one thing, and that is control over you. And now nationalizing businesses is one of the steps in this process. I want to go back to El Paso. Let's look at some of the wording in El Paso's document for sustainable development that I showed you earlier. It says, city resilience is the capacity of individuals, communities, institutions, businesses, and systems within the city to survive, adapt, and thrive no matter what kind of chronic stresses and acute shocks they experience. Let me compare this now to Agenda 2030's founding document. We underscore that sustainable development requires concrete and urgent action. It can only be achieved with a broad alliance of people, government, civil society, and private sector, all working together to secure the future we want. Okay, well, I don't like this, but is it that evil? An alliance of government and private businesses. An alliance of government and private businesses. I want you just to notice what's happening. Did you know that for the bailout, we now, all of us in the United States, own a piece of all of the airlines? It was part of the deal. You can take the bailout money, but we are now investors and owners of those airlines. Where is that in the Constitution? It's government and businesses preparing for chronic stresses and acute shocks. Chronic and acute. It's an interesting choice of words because when climate change proved to not be enough for these people, they had to look for something else, something entirely new. Coronavirus. Don't believe it? Watch. All right, I want to talk to you a little bit about rough greens. We'll stop for this 1 minute and then we'll finish the show out here together. Dry dog food has to have a 2 to 3 year shelf life, so it doesn't spoil on the shelf. So the people who make the dog food have to sterilize the food when they make it. In other words, they have to kill anything that might be alive in your pet's food. Well, dogs are no different than our body. We're both animals. We need stuff to help us process food. We need probiotics and enzymes and vitamins and healthy microbacteria. These are the things that we need. Our dogs need it too for their food, because especially their food, it's dead food. As a parent of Uno, I am happy I found Rough Greens VitaSmart. It's not a dog food. It's a healthy supplement that you put on your dog's food, all of the live nutrients necessary for superior dog health. No matter if you feed the most expensive dog food on the market or you make your dog's food at home. Rough Greens changes your dog for the better. I was out yesterday and he was just running the fence line like I've never seen him do before. That's Rough Greens. You want your dog not to survive, but to thrive? Try the 14-day Jumpstart Challenge today. $14.95. See the difference in your dog in 14 days or less. See your dog thrive again. Go to Rough Greens, ruffgreens.com/Beck.
When paying for your prescription at the counter, there are two types of people. Those who check the Single Care price to save money, and those who don't. See, more and more people are using the Single Care app to get a better price on their meds. Why would you pay this for your prescription when you can pay that? Insured, uninsured, paying cash, or have a copay, it doesn't matter. Single Care can give you the better price. Free to join, always free to use. Take 10 seconds, download the free app, and check your savings today.
Online dating? I know people meet that way, but where would I even begin?
Open laptop? Go to OurTime.com. Look for free. It's easy to take a look on Our Time, the fastest growing dating site for people over 50.
Online dating? My buddy met a nice woman that way, but I'm not really sure where to look.
Pick up your phone, go to OurTime.com, just take a look. It's easy to take a look on Our Time, the dating site for people over 50.
This holiday at T-Mobile, it's not about how far apart we are. It's about how close we can be. So we're bringing out our best deal on the new iPhone 12 with 5G on every plan. Right now, get the iPhone 12 on us on every single plan. Switch now and save 20% on your bill versus the other guys. That's the best value in wireless. That's right, the iPhone 12 on us on America's largest 5G network. And save 20% per month. It's time to holiday on. It's time for T-Mobile.
Renewal by Andersen knows a home improvement project can be stressful, so we promise you that our window and patio door installers will give your home the utmost respect and care.
They treated my house the way I needed my house to be treated. They were very clean and very conscientious. They worked room to room, so I didn't feel like I had workmen all over my house for the entire day.
Right now, save 18% on every window and patio door with no money down, no payments, and no interest for 1 year. Call today for an appointment.
Get secure in-garage delivery. Hey! Buy the Universal Smart Garage Control and get a $30 Amazon credit after your first in-garage delivery with Key by Amazon.
And this is how we die.
Wait, that's us. With the Jackbox Party Pack 7. Dad socks, cat gum, toddlers with adult faces.
Let's make some weird memories with Quiplash 3, part of the Jackbox Party Pack 7.
When paying for your prescription at the counter, there are two types of people. Those who check the single care price to save money, and those who don't. See, more and more people are using the single care app to get a better price on their meds. Why would you pay this for your prescription when you can pay that? Insured, uninsured, paying cash, or have a copay, it doesn't matter. Single care can give you the better price. Free to join, always free to use. Take 10 seconds, download the free app, and check your savings today.
All right, before the break, I ended the segment with sustainable development words that are typically used in the medical field, chronic and acute. Similar wording was used in that Marxist publication I showed you earlier that explained how the Green New Deal would lead to socialism. And I quote, "If capitalist societies are too poor to cure hunger, how can they possibly find solutions to the far more complex destruction of humanity's environment?" I find this insanely ironic because 4 years after Agenda 2030 went public with their goal of bringing a global socialist government off the back of climate change, some of the very same people gathered in October 2019, just this last October, to war game on what was needed to fight a global pandemic. It was a conglomeration of business people, health experts, and government officials from all over the world. The event was called Event 201. Every year, there are about 200 outbreaks, but the big one that everyone is afraid of is the 201st. This war game was a plan to find out what it would need, what we need to do to prepare for the inevitable future. Now, it was a collaborative effort between Johns Hopkins University, one of the first progressive universities in the country, if not the first, Bill Gates, and the World Economic Forum. When the participants sat down to begin the game, this is what they were shown. Watch.
It began in healthy-looking pigs, months, perhaps years ago. A new coronavirus spread silently within herds. Gradually, farmers started getting sick. Infected people got a respiratory illness with symptoms ranging from mild flu-like signs to severe pneumonia. The sickest required intensive care. Many died.
Sound familiar? If you just exchange pigs for bats, you have exactly what's happening right now. I'm going to get more into this after the next break, but I'm not saying, and I want to make this clear, this was not started by the people that organized Event 201. This is just what these people do. They war game future crisis. They nailed this one. But they also nailed the plans for a larger, more centralized government in response to it. It's what they did for climate change, and it's also what they had in mind for a global pandemic. Bill and Melinda Gates, who co-sponsored the event, have made advocating for Agenda 2030 one of their main endeavors. They produce all kinds of things. They do this report, Goalkeepers. They produce it every year to ensure all 17 Sustainable Development Goals happen by the year 2030. Multiple other participants are directly linked to Agenda 2030. Sophia Borges, she is the UN Foundation's senior vice president. She was the chief negotiator from the UN, compelling countries to adopt Agenda 2030. Then there's Eduardo Martinez. He's an executive at UPS. He also serves on Impact 2030, a coalition to, quote, advance the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and on the board of United Nations Public-Private Sector Coalition. Did you know UPS was involved in this? The merging of public and private sectors. You're going to hear a lot about this. The other members included government officials at the highest levels, like the heads of the CDC in China and even the director of the CDC here in the United States. This scenario provided a direct pipeline from people pushing Agenda 2030 directly to targeted businesses and public policy makers. If you watch this entire event, which you can, one overriding theme always comes up. It's this.
The scenario also highlights the very critical role that global business and public-private partnerships play in preparing for and responding to pandemics.
And we know from past responses that public-private cooperation will be essential.
We're at the start of what's looking like it will be a severe pandemic. And there are problems emerging that can only be solved by global business and governments working together.
Global business and government coming together. That came up over and over and over again. And when the question of who should be given the global centralized orders, of course, Agenda 2030 UN rep spoke up immediately.
Thank you. Yes, I agree. And I wanted to speak to the point about having the honest broken. I think in this regard, the United Nations fits the bill. I think that given that the countries most affected are those that are low and middle income countries with unequal access to technology, to finances, the UN has a worldwide footprint, universally recognized, and universal membership.
Global crisis, business merging with government and giving the power and the credibility to the UN and WHO. Boy, that sounds like a recipe for disaster. No matter what the attendees tried to do, no matter what solutions they came up with, the scenario was designed and destined for catastrophe. In my opinion, it's, to use a Star Trek reference, the Kobayashi Maru. It was rigged from the start. In the simulation, 65 million